Morning, Sully. It's the last morning of 2016. Are you happy to see it go?
I'm kind of indifferent, One year is the same as the next to me, so I just keep rolling, man, doing my thing.
Hey, that's a good outlook. Good outlook.
We ran a little long with Kevin Minnick. He was on a roll there. We had to let him go.
I don't believe it. Not Kevin. You can't be telling me that.
At least I know if I ever need to take a Saturday morning off, I know who to call. He'll just take over the show and just give his opinions for 2 hours.
Hey, he'll step right in there.
There you go. We love having him on.
What was the topic today?
You weren't listening?
Well, I was scrambling around here trying to make sure I was ready for the show. I dress up for the show too, Sully. I don't just dress up. Even though nobody can see me, I get my shirt and tie on for the show.
Do you really?
No.
Yeah, we were just kind of going through some stories of the year. Obviously, one thing he touched on was the whole Timber Creek situation, and we talked about how you guys handled that as a staff, and you did a lot of work on that. Talk about that real quick. What that was like as a sports reporter. You almost had to put on a different fedora, put on your investigative reporter hat there.
Yeah, it was a lot of hours spent. A lot of time spent in tedious stuff to try to figure out what was going on or what didn't, what if it was being investigated or not. And there's a lot of stuff that came through, and it was one of those things that was not something that you have ever done before. I mean, at least I hadn't, and so that made it a challenge. But we did a fine job on it, and it was interesting. It was interesting for sure.
One of the highlights we talked about. We're just kind of going through some of the highlights of 2016, and one of the games that Mike Frankel mentioned, I know you were at, was the Egg Harbor Township versus Eastern softball game in the South Jersey Group 4 Championship. That's a game I think we'll all remember for the next 15, 20 years. Probably the best softball game I've ever seen in my entire life. 13 innings. Egg Harbor Township rallied in every extra inning, came back with 3 runs in the bottom of the 13th to win it. I mean, you and I were talking at the end of that game, just wow. I mean, what an incredible game for a sectional final, and to have everything that went on in that game. Great performances on both sides. That's got to be one that's got to be high on your list of games of the year.
Well, it's funny, Sully, when you indicated to me that this show would be something of a year-end wrap-up, I was thinking about, well, what did I go through this year? What did we see this year? And the number one thing that jumped out to me in terms of best games, I was actually thinking about that, Eastern and EHD. What an epic it was down there. And you're right. I mean, 13 innings. The teams were so good. The quality of play was so high. And I hate cliches so much. But the cliche that it was a shame somebody had to lose, I think it held true that day. And I just remember there were 3 or 4 occasions where the game could have ended on a play at the plate. I think 3 times the game could have ended on a play at the plate. And either way the play broke, whether it was safe or out, each time it extended the game. There were bang-bang plays. There was great pitching. There was great hitting. There was controversy. There was everything you needed. There were tons of people. The EHT crowd came out, and for somebody who rarely gets to EHT, it was very impressive to see their fans there, how many people there were. The state track meet was going on behind us for an hour or so. It was supposed to be a staggered start. So yeah, it was a day I'll never forget. It was a day certainly you'll never forget because I wore salmon colored pants. But yeah, that ranks right up there as maybe the top memory of 2016.
And we forget that Eastern left fielder threw out 2 runners at the plate in that game. I mean, you can go an entire season without an outfield assist, and she had two at the plate in one game.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. I mean, it really was a great game. It was a game that I think a lot of times we see really good games and we say, man, that was a great game. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a really good game, and in the course of covering high school sports, you'll see a couple really tight overtimes or extra innings, and in the span of seeing, maybe not so close or mediocre games, and you think, oh, that was a great game. No, it wasn't. This was a great game. And if this game was on television right now, on ESPN Classic, I would sit down and watch the whole darn thing. I mean, it was that good. And I think you'd agree with me. I mean,
without a doubt,
I would love to see it again. It was incredible.
Talking with Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Mark, what else stands out in your mind for 2016? I mean, there was so many good stories. We ran through a lot of them here already in the show. But anything in particular stand out in the front of your mind?
Well, I think it was my first full calendar year covering sports at the Courier. So I really, I take away what I saw in each season. And what I remember most is the greatness that I saw. Matt Correnti, Zach Firestone, and Joe Manchio, all state champs in Atlantic City. You got two seniors who had fought their way back, and Correnti had lost in the championship. He fought his way back and was undefeated, won the Beast of the East, and then he got his redemption. Firestone made a run the year before, very close as well. He comes back, wins it, and Manchio, the sophomore, beats a senior in Duca at Paulsboro in the championship also, so an all-South Jersey final. So I remember that, about the winner. And not only that, I saw Paulsboro come back and win their team state championship, which was an incredible meet as well. They trailed by a lot and came back and won on the last bout. So those two things about the winter. As you said about the spring, Egg Harbor Township, Eastern, the run both of them had, how well Egg Harbor Township played the whole year really stood out to me. And then, when you look at the fall, there was so much that happened in the fall. Where do you start? To me, I don't know, if this will ever change, but the number one thing I'll remember about this season was seeing Jonathan Taylor against Woodbury, the great Salem running back, and just demolishing them for 368 yards. That moment, I think that even though Jonathan Taylor didn't win a state championship or a sectional championship, that doesn't really affect my memory. That's what I remember. I can remember what the air felt like that day, Yeah,
it was definitely a lot of great moments in the high school football season, and I think just the first year of this extended West Jersey Football League, this super conference, really sticks out in my mind as something that's going to be a great thing going forward. You saw so much more competitive balance, some great scheduling, saw so many marquee games. Every weekend there was a big game. So I really think it was a huge success on the part of the West Jersey Football League, sort of annexing the Cape Atlantic League and making it into a 95-team super conference.
It was a tremendous move, and it came with incredible foresight that it would work as well as it did. There are many things about the way states are run. This state is run in terms of sports, and I'm not just speaking to the NJSIAA. I'm talking about a lot of people in charge of a lot of things where they try to improve something, and it might even be an out-of-left-field idea to improve something, and maybe the groundwork just isn't quite there. Or maybe it's just a little far-fetched, or maybe not far-fetched enough, and it just seems like somebody ends up dissatisfied. Well, this plan here with the expansion of the West Jersey Football League was brilliant. It was brilliant. I mean, it worked for everyone. To be able to do that with the number of schools involved, I think Bud Kowal, the athletic director at Ewing and the president of the West Jersey Football League, certainly deserves a lot of credit, and I'm sure he would defer to the people that helped him also set it up. But there's another storyline for you. Absolutely, in 2016, that was a success. And we this year, in terms of the way things were run, I think we saw a lot of things that people would view as a failure, but that was not. That was 100% a success. It was a great thing for South Jersey football.
Mark, before we let you go, any particular story really stand out in your mind as one where you got done with the story and you were like, man, I nailed it. That's a great story.
It's funny. We're collecting we're figuring out our submissions for the yearly press awards, and I've been thinking about that. You forget what you even wrote sometimes. You got to go back and look. I would say that the one story that will always stick with me, it's not even a sports story, not to go off base, but I got to spend time with a 96-year-old man who was in hospice care for the purpose of basically a community service series, I guess it would be, with Samaritan Hospice in South Jersey. And I got to spend time with Fred Meserol before he died, and got to see how the hospice program worked. I mean, I'll never forget Fred Meserol for the rest of my life. That's off base, but I will say this: Fred Meserol once hit a hole-in-one when he was 74 years old. So he likes sports too.
Nice.
But that one certainly sticks with me. And any time you can do something, I think, that gets you out of your box a little bit. And the Timber Creek thing, obviously, I'll remember the rest of my life. It was a wacky thing. I mean, we could get a packet of information, and then there's just all these crazy developments that happen after the fact that you get that. And I don't think you'll ever forget that either. But, the memory of somebody I spent some time with, or allowed me to spend time with him, really, a month or so before he died, that I'll always be indebted to Fred and his family. So that I remember that.
Good stuff, Mark. We're up against the break here. Got to let you go, but thanks for some of your insights on 2016, and we look forward to talking to you throughout 2017.
Yeah, I'll talk to you next year, Sully.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You too.
That was Mark Trible, the Courier-Post.